Hello, we are at Tuesday night again, and I have a special guest here. This is Jack. He is not a fan of being up high, and we're not exactly high really, but he just wants to get down. But my son suggested that we let Jack make an appearance today because he just turned 17 last week. I posted some videos. I don't know if you saw it, if you missed it, but here he is. This is our old boy. He's been with us since he was 6 or 8 weeks old. My husband got him for me for a birthday present before we were even married. So here he is, and here he goes. So back to normal art content now. Excuse me. I'm Emily Gillespie, if you didn't know, and this is my weekly art chat that I do live on Instagram. When I was just a kid, my elementary school art teacher told me I wasn't good at art, and I believed her. So it took many years of boycotting any kind of artistic or creative activity because I just thought I was setting myself up for failure. It took until I was married with a young child at home to rediscover my creativity and to realize how much joy it brings to my life. Now I love to cheer on other women and help them reconnect with the things that bring them creative joy. These art chats are a way for me to share my thoughts on issues facing creatives and provide encouragement to them. Thanks for being here with me today. Today I wanted to talk to you about creative living. Elizabeth Gilbert says in her book, Big Magic, that a creative life is one that is driven more strongly by curiosity than by fear. I think that's a pretty accurate description, and to me it illustrates the idea that creativity is not just an activity, but it's an entire way of living. Hi Jamie, hi Carrie, I'm glad you guys could make it. Creativity is a whole way of living. It's your mindset and your attitude and the way you view the world. First of all, if you didn't know it, you are already creative. Sorry, my son is texting me advice while I'm doing this. He says I need to sound more fun, so if I don't sound fun, sorry. So if you don't already know it, you are creative. That's the first thing, the most important thing. If you are still learning and discovering your creativity, I hope you'll listen to this chat and then go back and check out some previous art chats for more encouragement and inspiration. If you have already spent some time developing and exploring your creative skills, I hope today's talk will give you some more things to think about. First, I think we need to identify some of the characteristics of creativity. So for me, that embodies or encompasses mindfulness, curiosity, resourcefulness, observation, and confidence. And that last one, confidence, might sound like it doesn't quite fit in with the others, but having confidence in yourself and in your work and being able to listen to your own creative voice and stay on that path and not getting sidetracked by what other people say or what other people are doing is really, really important. A couple challenges to be aware of when you're trying to add creativity to your life. There's the challenge of time and balancing your schedule, whether that is a full-time job or you're a stay-at-home parent, or if you're lucky enough to be a full-time artist or creative. Whatever your situation, you're going to have other responsibilities in your life that you need to juggle and balance. So it's pretty much impossible to find a real balance between those responsibilities and the things you're passionate about. And it's really tempting to kind of go all in either way, and on either end of the spectrum. You could like dive straight into your creative work and kind of neglect the other things, or you can prioritize the important but boring things like laundry, meal planning, whatever, and sacrifice your creative time, which is no good either. So like everything else, you just have to find a balance. Make a point to prioritize those things that are important to you, because if you don't, they're never gonna get done. It'll never happen. Energy is another challenge to be aware of. Physical energy and mental energy. This kind of goes along with the time issue, but sometimes depending on what we're dealing with, even if we have time, whatever else we're carrying or dealing with, it can use up our mental capacity to create. And that is definitely a challenge. It's something to be aware of. And I don't know if there's necessarily a right or wrong way to handle that, but being aware of it and trying to conserve your mental energy and save it for when you know you'll be productive is another thing to think about. Distractions and interruptions are another big challenge. I know for me, I have the attention span of an amoeba sometimes. So I'll sit down and work on a new collection or just a page in my journal or whatever, and that'll last a few minutes, and then something happens in the other room, or just something catches my attention and I'm off and running in a completely different direction, and it can take me days to get back to what I was originally doing. And I just lost my train of thought because I'm thinking about all this other stuff. But my point is, with all this, don't compare yourself to others who have different situations as you, whether that's employment, you might be caring for small children, or your aging parents, and recognize that whatever you're dealing with, your output and results are going to reflect the time that you were able to put in. And that's not bad. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up over not achieving your big goals if you don't have big time to put into it. Take it with a grain of salt. And really look at the time that you're putting in, look at what's coming out, and prioritize and celebrate the progress that you have made. That's really important. Have a good perspective on that. And then the last thing I have for challenges is, don't be precious about your creativity. Don't put it up on a pedestal like it's some perfect, precious, special thing. Because while it is a gift that is God-given and it's innate to you, if you put that much pressure on yourself to be creative and successful and productive, you're going to burn out, or your creativity is going to dry up. It's really hard to create under that kind of pressure. So then I wanted to talk about a couple ways to incorporate creativity into your daily life, now that you know some of the things to look out for. Life is too short not to go after the things that you love, and to implement those things in your life. So the biggest suggestion, the most impactful one I have for you, is to plan your days so you can take advantage of your most productive and energetic time. That might sound counterintuitive, because creativity can't be planned or scheduled, but if you don't add it onto your planner or your calendar, when are you gonna put it in? When? If you don't have it on there, then it's not going to happen, at least for me, in my experience. And don't try and squeeze it in between other things you're doing. It's true that you only need just a few minutes, like 10 minutes a day, to be creatively productive, but make sure you include those in your schedule for the day, and don't try and squeeze it in between, running to pick up your kid from school, you're sitting in the car line trying to not be late, and then going to a piano lesson or a sports practice or something. Trying to squeeze it in between other things is just never going to work. You're never going to have enough time. You're going to misjudge the time that you think you have between other activities, and when something has to give, it's going to be that creative time that you haven't budgeted for. So that's really important. I also try and add creative rituals to get you into the flow. So over time, as you add things to your creative practice, like, people have all different kinds of routines, but say you could light a certain candle and put on some special music when you are going to sit down and create. Over time, as you keep doing that, your brain is going to associate those with creative time, and it's going to get into the routine a little bit faster. Don't try and do everything all at once. Do one thing at a time and do it well. And build in time away from technology. Ask questions and be curious. Use your hands and your mind more. Get your hands dirty and allow yourself to really use your brain and think about things or problem solve. Again, away from technology. If you just have your phone or a computer right in front of you to do a quick Google search to type in a question and get a quick answer, that can be productive, but if you are trying to train your brain to think creatively, then just having a quick, easy input answer is not going to help you think. It's not going to help your critical thinking skills. It's not going to help you think creatively. It's just not the answer. Keep a notebook handy and use it to keep track of your ideas. So I often just use my sketchbook and jot notes down in there, because I usually bring that around with me everywhere. Or you can have a dedicated notebook, a page in your planner, or even on your phone. There's, whether you have an iPhone or an Android or whatever else, most of those have some kind of notes app that you can use. So you can just use that to just jot down a couple ideas here and there, if you have an idea while you're out and about on the go. Dedicate a space in your home to practice your creative hobbies. So this kind of does depend on what kind of hobby you have. So like an artist might have a big desk or an easel, a studio. It doesn't even have to be a whole room. A writer might have a writing desk or their computer. Same for any kind of creative. Musicians, gardeners, bakers, you know, whatever it is that you do, make sure you have a space in your home for that, because if you have a space in your home, then that automatically is going to just make it easier for you to participate in that. And then journaling. There's so many different things you could journal about here, but in this instance, think about what you want to pursue if you don't already know. Think about the things that you used to love doing when you were a kid. Think about what your strengths are and what your goals are, the things you want to pursue or learn or add to your creative practice. There's all different kinds of things you can choose and pursue here. So when you're scheduling your creative time, that is helpful, but it's also important to take advantage of the in-between moments in your life. And this is like where the downtime comes in. You know, if you happen to have 5 minutes between picking up your kid at school or while you're waiting in the car line before running off to baseball practice, for instance, make sure you're prepared to take advantage of those 5 minutes. Have a pen and scratch paper at the very least. You know, whatever your creative discipline, that can be useful for so many things, whether it's sketching or writing down a few lines from a piece of poetry you're writing, or planning out a floral arrangement or a garden design you're working on. There's so many different ways that this applies. But make those little moments beautiful with whatever you do, because beauty is so, so good for your heart and your mind and your soul. Look around you and find inspiration. Wherever you are, there's beauty just waiting for you to see it. And that could be, you know, just sunshine streaming through the leaves in a tree and casting a pretty shadow and movement on the ground. It could be the pattern on the pavement, the cracks. It can be, and this is just something silly that I've noticed recently, you know, they're doing construction work outside my office for my day job. And so they just got spray paint and marking symbols where the electrical lines are buried in the ground. And, you know, that's just something interesting. It catches my eye. And I don't know that I would incorporate it into a piece of art, but it's definitely inspiring. It gets my brain working. The other thing here is it's important to waste time, and that goes against a lot of what our hustle culture, our boss lady ideal represents. But take time to zone out and daydream and stare into space. Get lost in your thoughts. Letting your mind run free while your body is on autopilot doing something else is actually a really great way to come up with new ideas. I get my best creative thoughts when I'm running, when I'm driving, if there's no music on, or, even sometimes if there is, like a piece of something in the lyrics might trigger a thought and take me off and down in a different direction, or in the shower. There's no digital distractions in the shower, so that's a really great time to just kind of let your mind wander and think, and come up with new ideas for whatever you're working on. In your quest to add creativity to your life, it's important to embrace a slower pace and slow living. There's all kinds of stuff online about this, so I'll keep this part short, but take time outside. Allow yourself to rest. You don't need to rush through your entire day, every day, all the time. Savor the things you enjoy, whether that's a good book, sitting and listening to music, a meal with your family, coffee with a friend. You can also try new things, like sketching or drawing, even if you're not an artist, journaling, writing, sewing and fiber arts, photography, hand lettering, making music, going for a walk, baking, making a sculpture, decorating your home, doing yoga. Again, that goes back to just letting your mind wander while your body is physically active. Doing a puzzle, gardening, making art, gathering people together, or just tinkering. Just mess around with stuff. There's so much that can fall under that category. But for me, if I don't really know what I want to do, if I'm out of ideas, or just have creative block, I'll just come over in my creative space here in my studio and just get stuff out. Try different things, mixing colors, mixing different mediums together, just experiment and see what happens, and you never know what you might come up with. So living a creative life is not just about you, but it's also about what you have to offer back to the world. Whatever creative interests you have, it's absolutely necessary to make them a part of your everyday, regular life, because beauty and making are part of what makes you you. And if you're not doing those things and putting your gifts back out into the world, then you're wasting them. You're basically saying no to a gift from God, and so if you have those things and you're not using them, what's the point? What good is creative beauty if you're not using it and sharing it with other people? Creativity is not a competition. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to get a certification or take classes to be creative. If you feel like you're being creative, if you think you're being creative, if you call it creativity, whatever you're doing, if you call it creativity, then it's creativity. And nobody can argue with that or tell you otherwise. Chase after those things, the things that you love, and don't worry about the rest, because it'll all fall into place. It'll all fall into place. Thanks for listening today, guys. Thanks for joining me for this week's Art Chats. I hope you've gained some new ideas and inspiration. I hope you have some new thoughts, and I would love to hear what you have to say about this, or share your own experiences. Leave a comment, or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you guys. Make sure you're following me on Instagram to be notified about future episodes. I try to remember to schedule them in advance. It doesn't always happen. But if you follow me, then you'll get notified when I'm going live. Join me next week for our next episode, and I will be talking about... Oh, I forgot to change that part. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about yet, I guess, but we will find out, and I will let you know next week. So come on over next week, Tuesday night at 6:30 Eastern Time, and we will talk again. I'll see you guys later. Have a great week. Bye.